All right, welcome. Today is Friday, July 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern, and I'm excited that everyone's here. If anyone's new watching the class today, my name is Megan, and I'm the owner of Paintings at BT. I also do painting with Megan classes through my Patreon community. We have Sharon with us for the live class tonight. So Sharon, so glad you're here for the live class. Anyone watching the recording, definitely be sure to follow up with me via within Patreon. There's a community area on the website and in the app where you can kind of chat me questions. You can also comment on the recording comment area, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have through there. But tonight we're painting a really fun, kind of simplistic, kind of modern beach scene. I'm really excited about it because we haven't done a composition like this in a really, really long time. So I'm jazzed to do this with you. A few of the supplies that you'll need for tonight is you need something to paint on. I'm using 11 by 14. I'm painting on canvas paper tonight. I have a small plate for mixing colors. I have a cup of water for washing my brushes. And I have an array of brushes. I have small, medium, large. I just have a little bit of a gamut to kind of pick and choose what I want. But as long as you have some small to large variations, you should be fine for the class. Tonight I am painting using acrylic paint. I'm using red, blue, and yellow. I have all my primaries. And if you ever happen to have, other colors like greens or another version of red, those are all bonuses. But as long as you come to the classes with these three and then a little black and a little bit of white, you're in good shape. You don't need too much paint. And any bonus colors that you want to bring in, like an ochre or a light green or a crimson, you can always bring whatever you have. So no big deal. I always use really basic acrylic paints too in these classes, just so you know how easy and accessible it is to paint. So you don't need fancy paints to enjoy the experience. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Sharon, if there's any questions along the way, definitely just jump in. As you know, you've been to many of these classes before, but we'll go ahead and jump in. So one of the things that we're going to do, we'll do something a little different tonight. We're going to start off with a little bit of blue on our plate. And we're going to kind of sketch our scene with a light blue color. So I'm going to have folks take a dollop of your blue and go ahead and put it right on your plate. And we're going to sketch the composition with this cool color. I'm going to put a little bit of white and I'm going to mix a light blue. So I'm going to bring a little blue into the white. And I'll show you what that looks like. There's my white and there's my blue. And you can grab any brush that you want. You can use a small brush because we're going to do a little bit of kind of sketching for our scene tonight. So I'm just going to get my brush a little wet. I'm going to take my small brush and I'm going to grab a little dollop and just put it into like one side of the white. And just mix like about a quarter's worth of light blue. We're going to use this as an aid of just drawing and sketching where we want our beach to be, where we want our rocks to be, etc. Because there's a lot of blue elements to the class. So this is a kind of a fun way to sketch your composition. And a lot of artists do this. Sometimes if there's a lot of blue undertones, they'll use this blue color or a blue color to kind of sketch their composition first. And then they'll kind of fill in from there. You may also see people doing this with warmer colors like oranges or reds as their sketching tool. We haven't done a ton of that in these classes, but this is a really fun opportunity to try it. So I'm just mixing a nice light blue, something I can see against white really. And I'm spinning my brush on my plate so it's not too goopy. And we're gonna do a little bit of planning. So one thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of decide how far down do I want my sky to be and where do I want like the curve of the beach shore to be. So for me, I'm just visually gonna come down about a third. And I'm just gonna put a little mark over here to say, this is about what I want my sky to be. And then from this line down, it's gonna be like my beach area. So if you want to put a little mark on the right side of your picture, you can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do kind of like a rough kind of line just to give it a little bit of shape. And then maybe I'll just start to just have some fun and just pretend like there's some rocks here. This is maybe the land. These may be rocks. Maybe there's some rocks kind of coming in the water here. I'm just doing a little bit of planning. And maybe I give like this is the bottom. of the rock wall. We're just doing a little bit of sketching with our brush. So this is going to be like rock ledge here. And these are going to be some big boulders here. And they're going to kind of jetty out into the water. So you can see I'm just doing a little bit of pre-planning. And this is rough, right? This is going to get our composition in place. And you can always change this, but it's a good place to start. Now we can come in and do our shoreline, kind of where this big rock wall starts. You can kind of bring this in and start to kind of create your shore. You want to create this pretty tight here. And you can give it a little bit of movement if you wish. Oh, here comes Miss Jean. I'm going to keep this fairly smooth. So I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to come bring this out. And maybe I have quite a bit of beach down here. So see, this is all beach here. And you can have multiple kind of aspects of waves. This is just a little bit of fun planning. Jean, welcome. We're just doing a little bit of sketching with a little bit of light blue to get our composition down. And folks could certainly use a pencil to do this as well, but it's kind of fun to use your brush sometimes.
Are you able to pin yourself so you fill up the whole screen?
I should be already pinned. See if I can. I should be pinned. Let me spotlight. See if that works.
Oh yes, much better. Thank you.
Spotlighting is better. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing. So, Jean, we're basically taking a little bit of light blue paint and we're sketching the composition. So we basically, I did the top third was our sky, and then I just did some like kind of faux rocks, and then I did this big cliff here, and then I did our shoreline. So, and I kind of did 2 rounds of waves, kind of wave water coming in. So I was just being a little playful there. We'll play with more, but I have quite a bit of beach space here. So this is all beach in this space here. So you can play with this.
Are you using watercolors?
Nope, this is acrylic paint.
Okay. And what kind of paper are you using?
This is just acrylic paper.
Okay.
This is actually, it's called the paint pad. This is like nothing fancy by any means. This is just the one I have with me.
Okay, I'm gonna go get paper too. I usually don't use it because it wrinkles, it curls up.
Yes, it does. It sure does. So once you're done these lines, we can paint the sky blue. So we're going to start with a darker blue at the top of the sky, and we're going to move to a lighter blue gradient down here. So if you wanted to switch to a bigger brush, I have this brush here. I was like cleaning my brushes as I go. You can leave them in the water cup or you can take them out, but I can delete that one right there. And I'm just going to grab a larger brush of choice. So I have this one right here. I'm going to get the brush a little bit wet before I use it. And I'm going to start with like a little bit dark, not a darker blue, but not the lighter kind of this in the sky. So I'm going to find the darkest tone of the sky that I want. So maybe I'll do that as my dark color, darkest. And this guy has a really fun brushstroke technique. I'm going to try it tonight just to see how it goes. This is like a vertical brushstroke technique. I don't know how it's going to look. Guess what? If I don't like it, I can paint over it. But I'm just going to do vertical brushstrokes just to see how it looks. Typically, we do a lot of horizontal brushstrokes in our skies. But sometimes it's fun just to experiment and try something new. I'm coming almost all the way down. I might add a little bit of water just to stretch it out. Just see how this looks. And then put some clouds on top. Make sure you go all the way to the top of your painting. Kind of gives it a little bit of a different artsy look. If you don't like this, you don't have to do it. But you all know me, I like to experiment, try new things. So I don't mind being the guinea pig. Okay, and if it comes out weird, it comes out weird. All good. So I'm just doing brush strokes down. I'm going to come down. So we're going to bring some light blue paint up. From this line, we'll bring light blue paint up to kind of create that gradient. And then we'll add clouds on top. So this is the darkest blue. I'm going to mix a lighter blue for the gradient kind of coming up from this line. You can use a little water on your brush. Got a big dark spot in my sky. Let's see if I can blend that in. Yep, so just keep working it until you're happy with it. I'm doing some horizontal brush strokes along the top just to um, get that coverage. So that's kind of fun. I'm gonna do the same thing with a lighter blue, kind of working my way up just to see what happens, see what that looks like. And I'm painting on 9x12 paper tonight. So if I'm cruising a little faster than usual, that's why. I will try to slow down though, just in case folks are using bigger canvases. So I'm going to do the same technique, maybe a little water on my brush. And I'm using the wide side of this brush, and I'm just kind of bringing this lighter blue up. And I'm doing a soft kind of flicking brush stroke, just so it kind of blends in. You can do soft brush strokes, you can push down hard. As an artist, you kind of play with the amount of pigment on your brush. And if you've been taking these classes, you know it's all about you get more comfortable in blending colors. Those colors are pretty close. I might lighten it up just a little bit, but it looks pretty good. Kind of a different sky approach. I don't hate it. Kind of looks like watercolors, doesn't it, Jean? Just probably like the question was asking. All right. So I'm just coming above some of these rocks. I'm just doing some upward flicking motions. See, sometimes it's fun to do different techniques for the sky because you get a different look and feel. And again, if you don't like it, you can always paint over it. Acrylic dries really, really fast. I'm just starting at that horizon line and just sweeping upwards. I do want it to be a little lighter down here. I want there to be more of a visual contrast. So I either need to make the top darker or the bottom lighter. I might make the top darker. See. And I can just bring that darker color. So you can choose if you wanted to make the top darker, or if you don't want that contrast, that's fine. But that's what I want to try to do tonight. I'm just gonna use this. So I'm just playing with the contrast. Again, if you want to do just a basic blue sky up here, that's fine. I'm just spending a couple minutes to be artsy and see what I can come up with. All right, so I'm just bringing this, I'm bringing a little bit of the lightness back up just to see what that looks like. And I'll let this dry and then I'll do some clouds on top. So it's kind of a fun and different sky. Kind of creates a little moodiness. So while we have blue on our brush, we can bring in, and if you need more time, feel free to take it. But I'm going to bring in a little bit of this. This is called Blue Lake, the blue that I'm using. I'm going to use this Blue Lake as is. And I'm going to create back here where the rocks are in the water line. It's really darker blue back here. So on this farthest point of the water, it's going to be our darkest blue. So you can kind of dance in between your rocks. We can paint our rocks over and on top of this, but this is just bringing in a little bit of dark blue for that contrast. And then we're just going to get really lighter as we go. So this is where we can kind of go all at our own pace, but play with taking different tones and layers of blues and get lighter as you come to the shore. And I am going to do nice, smooth, horizontal brush strokes here. So I can use my palette. See how I'm kind of mixing lighter colors as we go? So this is my dark, medium, and light. This will help me with that. And you can, while the acrylic is wet, you can kind of play with this. And you can blend them over on top of one another. That will help with your blending technique. See how that slight gradient happens? Because I have a little bit of water and I'm playing with kind of 3 tones right now. It's going to get really, really light as you get to the shoreline. It's going to even turn white a little bit, right? And we'll add, if you want to make this a little turquoisey, you might have a turquoise. I'll bring a little bit of green into this in just a minute, but I'm going to get this base color blue all the way down. And it's going to be really, really light blue down here. So it's really going from like a darker blue, medium blue, and it's going to be super light all around the edges of the shore. All this white area here will be our shoreline. So that will be our beachy color. If anyone has any questions through class, please let me know. Otherwise, like, enjoy this experience. This is such a beautiful scene. I love the beach. I can't wait to go to the beach. I'm going to the beach in August. We're going to Maine. Very exciting. Dreaming of my lobster rolls and sitting there with my 3-month-old, but she's going to be just fine. He's coming, and whether he likes it or not, ladies. All right. And again, I apologize in advance for any interruption with my little one who's still very needy and daddy might need me. So appreciate your flexibility. If things come up in advance. So I can hear a baby right now. All right. So I'm going to let that dry. Perfect. And it's not done, but for me, I use water. So I kind of like want to let it simmer and set for a minute. If you don't want to use water, you can just use white to like lighten. I might just take a little bit of light blue paint and just use it to soften the gradient. It's okay, as you know, with acrylics to kind of do a layer, let it dry. You can also go back and add more on top. So totally fine. I might take a little bit of green as that's drying and mix just a little bit of a bluish green color. Because if you mix blue and green, it will give you a turquoise color. So if you wanted to take a minute and do that, you could. All right, you may hear small voices, so just bear with me here for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of this blue. Okay. And a little bit of this green, and I'm going to mix the bluish green color. A little bit of this color, and I'll show you what this looks like. All right. All right. So it's okay. Go ahead and mix those colors together. Let's see what happens. Hey, ladies, keep painting. I'll be back in just one moment. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about that. Appreciate your patience. Okay. Uh, hopefully I will not need to pause our painting session here for the evening. So I'm making a really nice, light kind of seafoam green, and I'm just going to use that ever so gently here on the water. Like on the edge, it's going to kind of transition in. It's going to be a really pretty transition color from the light blues. And I'm kind of having fun with it. But I'm just bringing in a little bit of that teal. I had two kind of crashing waves areas. I kind of had a line here, which you could see. I'm putting in a little bit of this, just a little bit on the inside of the second one up here. But this is really, and I'm kind of being a little kind of sporadic because I'm creating it to be a little piecey, but it will be more smooth here as I get going. But I'm just bringing in a little bit of white on the edge. It's kind of just softening this green. The nice thing is you can bring in more light blue if you want to, but play with, if you wanted to bring in a little bit of this, I added white to it. You can see how it's just kind of breaking it up. It's kind of giving it a little bit of a different look. It's kind of fun. I'm definitely going to bring some blue in here. It's going to be fairly light in color. This is sort of getting a little darker here, but this is a great way to experiment with, how those turquoise waters come in and they change. You can bring in as much blue. I'm using just the tip of this brush too. I'm using the flat side of this medium size. And I'm kind of just playing with how the waves crash in. We'll bring in white after, but I'm playing with just the blend of colors. And I'm kind of staying right within this line because I'll have the white water and the beach sand kind of crashing in on one another. My child is not happy right now, and I apologize in advance if I have to go. I think you both would understand. He is really not happy with Daddy, but I'll give another few minutes. But we can pause this. I can pause and I'll complete this. I apologize in advance if I have to leave. All right. So you can see how I've used the greens, and let me see if I can tilt this at all, but the greens are really quite pretty. If you start to lose that line, go ahead and take a little bit of extra white paint, and you can, if you wanted to use the white while everything's wet, you can. We're going to definitely do white on top after. But I can at least get you ladies going. I think you're both fairly independent enough here to keep going, which I apologize. But I could take a little bit of the white and slowly I could soften this here with the blues. I don't want to do too much here because we're going to be bringing in the sand, but if you wanted to soften the edge of the blues, like a little bit of a watery white here, you could. Just kind of like there's waves starting to kind of crash onto the shore. That might help the transition with the beach. So I'm kind of softening that a little bit. We're going to put it in that sand color. But what I was going to say is once it starts to dry, even you could grab a smaller brush of choice if you're losing that secondary line. These are all like watery. This is all water crashing in. So you can kind of do some loose kind of watering kind of crash, waves crashing in. And I'm just doing I'm kind of following this line, but I'm being a little jittery about it. I'm not doing like a perfect line, perfectly round line, which you can. But I'm just having I'm being a little piecey, but I'm kind of following this circle around. And in the distance, it gets a little more thin, right? So we'll add some rocks out here in the distance too. We'll definitely do the crashing against the rocks, but you can make this a whole water break right here. So I'm kind of using the tip of the brush and going left, right, left, right. And that's just holding this wave area kind of crashing in. In the picture, it's a little bit of a band, and I'll upload the inspiration in the chat window for you, Jean, if you can't see it. Let's just redo that for you. So I love that look. I love that we have the two colors. It's really quite pretty. So then we're going to do a little bit of the same thing down here. You can start to bring in some of this. We'll do more of it. If you wanted to add in a little bit of white here, you can. We'll do more of it once we have our beach color, our beach sand color, which I'll just do that with you briefly next. And then if I have to excuse myself, my poor kiddo is screaming for his daddy right now. which is killing me. Imagine that. Okay. So I'm just doing a little bit of this soft white here. Maybe the situation will alleviate itself. Okay. So I have some of the beach water painted in. I have a sky. We're letting all this dry. I'll show you how to mix the color for the sand next. If you happen to have the ochre, we could use that. I'm going to pretend like people don't have ochre because it's a little bit of a fancy color. So I'm going to make an orange or even a little bit of yellow and a tiny touch of red and then white. You're kind of making like a peachy. So you don't need very much red at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a soft orange first, and I'll use the big brush. Now I haven't done a good job of keeping any room on my plate for any of these other colors. Tisk tisk on me. And I'll make this color for you here. So you're gonna make a soft orange first. You're not making like a juicy orange, you're making like a soft orange, more of a yellowy orange. And then I'm gonna mix it right in here with my white. And I'll use water to help move this around. If you don't want to use water, you don't have to. So this is still very yellowy, but I'm mixing, white is like one of my primaries here. So I'm just mixing in a little bit more red to make it a little bit more orangey of a tone. Trying not to get any of my blue in here. If I put any blue in here, game's over. It's gonna be like brown and mucky, so I have to be really careful. I should probably get another plate, but I'll live my life here on the wild side for a minute. So I'm getting more of a beachy color. Okay, that's pretty good. So I can use white to lighten this. So what you can do is you can just start bringing in this beachy color right against the shore. And I'm doing these kind of horizontal brush strokes. This is pretty dark in color. So what does that mean? It means you can bring white in to soften it. So I'm just going to show you what it's like just to bring some of this in. And then I can use white with no blue in it. And while this is wet, you can bring white in to soften it. So I'm just bringing in a little bit of white. This is making it a little yellowy, but you get the picture here. I can always paint on top of this, but you can see how it's darker kind of here and it's lightening up. You can use white again. You could just bring white in, and I know neither of you really paint like this, but I'm just kind of showing you an example of bringing white in and just while it's wet, just kind of working it in. And I'm moving fairly quickly, but you can see how bringing in a little bit of white here really lightens this space. So you can play with that and see how it's nice and soft. Your eye, it's this darker sand line, and it's not done yet, but you can see how this darker sand line brings your eye to the edge of the water, and then your eye goes to the water after that horizon line, or vice versa. It's pretty powerful, pretty fun. So that's a technique you can play with, right? Bringing in just a little bit of extra white along the edge and kind of blending it in. Really fun. See, that's how it's nice and soft here. You can see some yellow tones, which is fine. It's more like pinky peach too. I have oranges. If you wanted to use more of like a pinky peach sand color versus oranges and yellows, that's totally fine. And I could even bring in peakies and pinch peaches into this. It's just more red, right? So I could easily bring more into this after. There we go. Okay. I'm just gonna mute myself and just check on the situation. I'll be right back. Okay. We're okay to keep painting, ladies, for the moment. So I love how the oranges came in. I love how this is nice and soft. I do want to try to make it a little more peachy, pinky kind of color. I think that would look really cool. So I'm going to, I have white right here. I have a little bit of red. It's gonna mix like a really soft, I might mix a little bit, I'll bring this over here so you can see it. I mix a little bit of pink and a little bit of orange here. See, we've got a little pinky peach. It's kind of cool. And I'm just gonna like, I might just be a little playful here and just, this is a lot very red. I'm just gonna take my brush, since this is too red, I'm just gonna use some water. And just try to blend it in a little bit. That works for right now. Perfect. So that kind of made it a little bit of a different take. And that's kind of the fun thing with these is like, don't, if you ever put the wrong color down, just try to work it in. And if it doesn't work out, just paint over it. But it's really fun to kind of experiment. So this is a little bit of pink tones to it now, a little bit. I lost some of the contrast, but it's, you can always add that contrast back. But it's kind of fun playing with those beach light colors. We haven't really done a ton of beach light colors in these classes, so it's fun to experiment with you in that regard. So we're gonna make this coastline look much more like smooth. So this looks very rough right now. Don't worry about that. We'll make it look smooth here in a minute. So I'm just gonna come down and just kind of finish this main area. And you can use whatever colors you want. I'm really being kind of creatively like all over the map with regards to using oranges and yellows and a little bit of peaches and pinks. So just play with the colors, do what you wish. And these classes, I always want you just to kind of, I'm here to guide you, but just follow your own intuition on what you want to do. It's really one of the best things about being an artist or practicing creativity is just kind of following your own gut along the way. So one of the things you can do with one of your beach colors is you can start to smooth this out. So I'm just going to use this and just start to soften this and just round it a little bit. So I have some rough brush strokes. And you can create, I'm just going to kind of soften this rough edge. And I'll bring some more of this crashing. We'll bring some white opacity on top of the beach. Like the water is just coming smooth on top, which would be really fun. But I'm smoothing out this edge, and you can see with the smooth edge, it just looks already a whole lot better. And up here, I'm just bringing this, so I know where the land ends, I know where the beach ends. And you're bringing this sand color all the way up to this rock ledge here. But I love the blend of the oranges and the pinks here. It looks really pretty. So I'm gonna let that dry. All right, I'm gonna check in on my situation. I'll be right back. Excuse me. Okay. How is it going so far for you ladies? Are you playing with the colors of the beach? I love that we brought in a little bit of pink. It's tricky, isn't it? Well, it can be anyways. Yeah, isn't it, Sharon? Definitely. Definitely, definitely. Well, it's okay to let things dry too, especially like doing layers if they're smudging, you know, just letting it dry and coming back to it is not a bad thing. Jean, did you sketch your composition out or are you flying with us today?
I have no idea where it's going, so.
Oh, I like this. So I can always count on you, Jean, just for like you're the wild card you've become. You have an idea of a beach, you could just paint an umbrella and I would probably still love it. Oh, I love it. You do you, lady. I love it. All right. So I'll give folks a minute to play with the beach. I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. The other thing I'll share is your beach can be lighter too. So one element is, this is very like beachy color. I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter around the edges. And this is again, the evolution of painting, and we go through this in every single one of our classes. So I'm just going to, I'm going to take a little bit of white paint, a little bit of water on my brush. I'm going to make a soft, kind of milky light consistency. This one has a little bit of blue on it, so it's not good. So we have this goes here. And I'm just going to slowly, I'm just going to soften this if I can. And I'm going to use water to my advantage to soften this. It's just going to be softening around the edges. I don't want to have crazy brush strokes, but I'm going to slowly just soften the beach area. And I'm just doing some gentle, kind of not flicking, but soft brush strokes, kind of stroking towards the water, kind of creating a little bit of a softer edge here. It's going to go up to the top too. Maybe I'll create a little bit of a round bucket here in the sand where you can kind of see I'm creating a little bit of intentional area of like, this is definitely darker and this is softer. So you can play with that. I'm not going to go too crazy here. We'll keep this class on the easier side versus the complicated detail side, which we can definitely go down that rabbit hole, Sharon, for sure. So I'm just going to call this good because it's good enough right now. One of the things we're going to do though is we'll add a little bit of like waves coming and crashing here. So if you wanted to bring a little bit of white, and I'm going to use this, I'll go into a smaller brush, but or you can use the bristles. You can kind of bring white in from the water in here just to kind of create a little bit of like rounded waves crashing. Now it's going to have a little bit of like over here, it's going to be rounded. So I'm like, I grab a smaller brush. A little watery white. Kind of like a little bit of like a tidal, like little lines kind of rounding. And then as you get to here, you can play with how the water comes on. So up here, it's pretty tight. So you want like a little bit of a transitional off-white color kind of coming onto the sand, and you can play with that. There's also a little bit of blue in here too. Again, that's like a little bit of a level 2, but if you wanted to play with just doing a little bit of a few waves just coming crashing onto the shore. Again, this is a little complex, but just do your best and have fun with it. You could use your finger and smudge the waves kind of coming and crashing. It's kind of fun. We'll see how it's like kind of dissolving in. It's up to you on how you want to play with this edge. You can definitely still see the edge. It's not a big deal. So I'm just using my finger, and this is, again, we're not trying to perfect the scene. We're just being interpretive, right, of our water's edge on how this is crashing onto the shore. Artists would probably spend hours just doing the beach shore crashing, right? We don't have to do that. We're just playing with the blending a little bit from the beach line to the water line. So that's what we're playing with right now. You can use your finger to smudge. Also let it dry and then add a little bit more after. It kind of helps cover up that edge a little bit. So I'm doing a little bit of paint, a little bit of white paint to help cover up that edge. And then I'm gonna let it dry for a second, but you can smudge it with your finger, kind of help with the transition, which is kind of fun. That helps a little bit. So I'm just doing a little bit of paint and then doing some kind of horizontal smudging with my finger. That's working out pretty well to kind of soften that. Again, I'm not going to go too crazy, but I think that is sufficient. give everybody just another 2 minutes to finish, or to at least finish playing with the beach area, and then we'll shift to doing the rocks up top. And we'll play with some clouds too. Right. I'm excited to see how yours are coming along. Don't have to show anything yet. That would be too mean here. We have lots of people on our beach. We have rocks to paint, all the things. But we're going to do some kind of orange and gray, maybe orange and blue tone rocks. We're going to do them a little patchwork. So I have some of those colors going. I might take, so there's these peachy colors here. We'll use some of those for the rocks, and then we'll use a little bit of blue for some shaded areas. But I'm going to be a little abstract about how I paint these rocks. So a little of these peachy and orange colors would be perfect. Just going to get some of this paint on my brush. And they have very much like patchy brush strokes filling this in. So kind of think outside the box. We'll put some grass in here too. Try to do, hey buddy. Okay, 1 second, okay? You want to put PJs on? Okay.
That's mine.
Okay, say hi to the ladies.
Where?
They're painting. They're up there.
Hi.
He's okay, Dan. That's my 4.5-year-old. For anybody that doesn't know, I have 2 children now. Okay, 1 second, buddy, okay? 1 second. Okay. Okay. So then, sorry, we're tiny home living in our camp right now. So we all share space in this area. So I'm gonna do these kind of fun patchwork colors of these peaches, and I'm just filling this in. So instead of just painting these rocks in as like a solid color, I kind of just.
What are you painting?
1 second, okay? We're painting this beach scene right here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you almost done?
No, I'm not almost done. Only if Daddy needs me. That's when I'm almost done. Yeah, I know he probably does. Yeah.
It's bad.
It's bad.
No, it's fine.
It is fine, yes. The commentary, you get free commentary tonight, lady. I'm not muting myself. 1 second, okay? Can we have quiet time? Yeah, go ahead, go out there for a minute, okay? So I'm just using these peaches and oranges to fill in this rock space. And I'm gonna bring in some darker contrasting colors too after, but this is just the rock front. And these little lighter colors. And see, I'm just blending them all together. It's just making it, and I might add, maybe I start to bring in some more natural. I want to make like a brown. So making a little bit of a brown using greens and red. I might bring in a little bit of brown as like a natural tone for this rock. So let me mix a brown while we're here playing together. Let's see here. To make brown, you can make brown using red, yellow, and blue, or you can mix together red and green. I just kind of add all those colors on here, so I was just going to make it that way. Now I make a light brown. I don't need it to be too dark because it would really stand out quite well. So I just mixed a little bit of white with this brown. That's perfect. And then I'm going to use a smaller brush actually, and I'm just going to add a little bit of some froth-like texture. I want to be. Hey, Asher. I'm just going to use a small brush here. And I'm just going to do some like rock-like lines. So I'm going to outline the top of this. I'm just going to add in some long rock-like areas. And then I'm just going to kind of follow down. See, I'm just creating a little bit of texture. And so I'm just doing some cliff-like textures, which are those vertical lines. And then I have just some other. So do a couple of these vertical lines for cliffs. And we'll add in some blues as well. All right. So I'm just filling this in.
On a video call.
Yep, 1 minute, okay? Thank you. I'm just filling this in. If you want this to be more rock-like, you can. I'm leaving a little bit of room on top for green for the,
Wait. Oh yeah.
all right. So I'm just gonna fill this in any way that you want. You can keep it really solid in color. I'm just really being playful with what I want to add in and where. Pretty fancy the way they did it. That's not what I'm striving for. I'm striving for.
See, wow.
So I'm just gonna let this dry. And I'll add a little bit of dark blue in some areas for like the rock wall, but you can see I'm creating like that cliff-like structure. I'll add some green in here too. I'll add green on top for the top of the cliff, and I'll add some darker blue or some darker grays and browns for the cliff as well. So the darker colors in this instance are like the rock face. So if I have rocks kind of coming here, it's definitely darker at the base. So there's definitely some darker rocks here. So you can use the darker color. And you can also use this darker color for some of these rocks in the distance. So you can kind of start to connect some of these huge rocks that are creating this peninsula. So you could use the brown to do that. If you wanted to, we'll make that a little bit blue, but I might use this brown to do like a floating rock right here. And maybe paint the entire rock. And then the tops of these rocks will paint lighter on the top. So the bottom of these rocks could be a darker color and the tops will be lighter. So see how I did the bottoms darker? Maybe there's a rock right here on the shore. So the bottom of the rock can just be painted and we'll make the top a little bit lighter of a color. So that's kind of fun. I might put another rock just in here just to kind of continue the scene. If there's rocks kind of throughout, it's a little bit of a rocky beach, which is kind of fun. So I'm just using this brown to do that. You can add more dark brown rocks. Again, you could just paint the bottoms of these rocks. We'll make the tops a little lighter. If you wanted to add more rocks on the beach in the distance, you can see I just added some smaller lines. And that kind of just starts to set the tone in the background. I'll put green trees, some green on top of this after. You definitely don't want to mix green and browns though, but I'm not going to do too much more brown. If you wanted to do a lighter brown on the tops of those rocks, you could. See that those rocks look a little bit more realistic now. I could even add in a little bit of blue. Any inspiration, the tops of the rocks have blue on them. I can add that after, right? So the tops of the rocks can be a little lighter. You can have some dark colors on the top of the rocks if you want to. It's totally up to you. But we'll bring in blue kind of touch up tones along the way, but we'll just let some of the browns dry. So that was a little painful, you know, kind of getting there and like kind of getting in those base colors and then using the darker colors to kind of draw the eye to certain areas. So this is all in the distance. I have some very large rocks out there, as you can see. So, but it's fun to play and acknowledge those lighter and darker tones to see the depth that it creates. So we're adding lightness to the tops of those rocks. And we'll put white crashing water waves around these rocks under each of them once they're dry. We don't want to put white near wet brown because it's just going to smudge. So we just give it a minute and let that dry. In our classes, sometimes we bounce around from one thing to another. That's okay because we kind of let it one area dry and we come back to it. So everybody's going to kind of be working on different things at different times. I'm going to make a little bit of a green. I have a green here, but if you need to make green and you don't have green paint, green is yellow with a touch of blue. The more blue you add, the more bluish green, I suppose it will be. I'm going to put a little bit of green on the top side of this cliff. There could be a golf course up here. It looks like somebody lives up here for the inspiration. And it can kind of like come down on top of some of the cliffs if you wish. And you can decide how far out you want to bring your grass. So like if you want your grass to go all the way to the edge of the cliff, you can. But I love that. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And there's like a house up there on the inspiration. I may not paint a house. I just may do like a darker green with like some trees, like some abstract trees. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just gonna kind of wing it up here. And if I don't like it, I could paint over it. But I'm just gonna add some kind of abstract trees, just kind of. And I'll do 2 tones of greens up here. I'm just doing like little dots for abstract trees. I'll add some, I could mix green and brown and just tuck in like a few like darker style trees too, like darker browns. Just like these are just 2 tones up here in the distance to add some depth to these objects. I don't want to get too high. I'm keeping these fairly narrow. Maybe you change the color of the green in some areas. So it kind of looks like a little bit of a forest on top, which is kind of fun. If you don't like that, you don't have to do that. There's also like a lime green color up there, which is really appealing. I'll add a little bit of like a more yellowish green after once it dries, just to give it a little bit of like a visual pop. I think that might look really nice. But these are abstract trees, aka little dots and blobs. If you have a very tiny brush, you could do more of that. So let's see. If I mix a little bit of yellow and a little bit of green. You can get a little bit of a lime green, which is a really beautiful, it's a stunner color. So I could just tuck some of that lime green in here, and to make it lighter, I could add a little bit of white, which you might need. Just a really beautiful visual. It's like a really nice pop visually. My green is not dry yet, so I'm rushing into this. So I'm gonna let it dry, but I'm just gonna see if I can get it to stick on top. Not really. It's sticking a little bit. You can see it's giving me a little bit of that zest, but I'm gonna let it dry. But you can see a little bit of the lighter green kind of came through. So I'll give you all a couple minutes to play with that. I know that was really abstract and broad, but if you wanted to paint like a house up there, you could. If you wanted to paint like a gazebo or like something else, if you wanted to paint more specific trees, you could. I keep the trees nice low in height. I just did like abstract in the distance look and feel tonight. If you need to ground the bottom of your trees, you can add a little bit of like a darker line. Like there's trees, there's a tree line, and then there's like a grass field. So I added a little bit of a brown line at the bottom of some of these trees, just to kind of say, this is the grassy field area and this is where the tree line is. So that's what the interpretation to me is, but pick and choose. All right, one moment. So we are 8 o'clock. I would love to check in with you both. I'm going to remove my spotlight and I'd love to see how your creations are coming along. Sharon, it's not a confident face. I didn't, oh, it's cool. There's jeans, nice. Sharon's is blurry. Nice job, ladies. I love it. Oh, you both did great. The mountains and the cliff it's really tricky, isn't it? I had try making it a little lighter. Like bring in a lighter brown or a lighter orange. That might help like bring out a little bit more like lightness or brightness back to that mountain range, like visually brighten it. That might help it match everything a little bit more. You could try that. But the shape and the composition are really well done. Jean, you had a lot of rocks, which I really enjoyed seeing. You had a lot of rocks in your ocean. I love that. Nice job, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a fun part of the process. So I'm letting my tree line dry. I am going to, while my rocks are dry, I'm gonna come in and add some white crashes of water kind of at the bottom of these rocks as like a fun intermediary here. So I'm just gonna come in and just add on the bottom side of these rocks a little bit of not white outlining, but fun crashing. It's basically outlining, but you can make it as vigorous or smooth as you wish. And you can just do like little dashes and dots, like if you just wanted it to be a little bit more abstract. You just try using just the tip of the brush. You don't even need to do a full brush stroke. Use the tip of the brush to create that splash. Maybe do like a dot, dot, dash, dot, dot, smooth. See what happens. Sometimes artists use really teeny tiny brushes. Some of you might have those. Some of us may not have those. So it's good for me to show you that it's all possible with just basic craft brushes. And that's what I'm using today. So there's a little bit of white crashing there. And anywhere you want to add in, you can use white paint. Add in a little bit of extra white for water crashing, water movement. Just do some soft lines. You wanted to add actual waves and make it really wavy. I think Jean did some of this already. I'm just using white. You could use a light blue to do this. Totally up to you. So you can come in here. You can use water on your brush. We won't spend too much time here because I want to have fun with the people in our last you can add a little bit of, some water lines here. You can use your finger to smudge it if you wanted to. Creating quite the little lagoon here. And you can spend time even after this class playing with this baby. The white line that's crashing here, the water kind of comes in softly, kind of wades in to the second pool area. So you can play with bringing extra white kind of from the bottom of this wave area, softening it. So there's a lot of fun things you can do. Tonight's one of those classes where we could easily spend 2 or 3 hours. But I think it's good to kind of get you going. And then if you want to spend more time on this, you certainly can. And you could even take a little bit of your watery white once you're happy with your sand. And we can bring some more of this. This has a little bit of blue in it, which is bad. You can have just pure white, watery white. So clean your brush off if you need to. You can bring some more of this water movement kind of up onto the beach if you wanted to, but I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm gonna add some people next. And I'll do the clouds in the sky last. But I'm gonna have some fun here in our mini 20, 30 minutes here. So I'm going to, let's see, you can do people sitting. I'm gonna do people sitting on the beach blanket. I'm gonna do 2 little beach blankets. And I'll do, I love this beach umbrella. I haven't painted a beach umbrella in a long time, and then we'll do some people. And the people are gonna be really tiny. And if you don't want to do people, you don't have to, but you want a really small brush people. But I'm gonna do a blue beach blanket. And I'm gonna make it a little darker. So if you have a phthalo blue, you can use a phthalo blue. If you have black, you could make a blue a little bit darker with a black. I'm gonna use a little bit of this phthalo. And this is just gonna be, I don't know, I'm just gonna put them right here. And it's just gonna kind of be like a line, or a flat rectangular line, just kind of points out a little bit. I'm just gonna put some people on this. Like it's just a flat beach blanket, and I'm gonna put them on top of that. There, that's a beach blanket. Very, very fun. And then I'm gonna do another one. This person's gonna be sitting on a towel. That's a towel. Very, very fancy. Maybe they have like a little towel right here too. Okay. Just me using my imagination. And there's a beach chair. So you can look at the inspiration if you wish, or you can just kind of wing it. There's like an orangey beach chair, which I think is great. And it's just a rectangle. And it's right here on this blanket. So I'm gonna do a little beach chair, rectangle back right here. And then there's another one over here somebody's gonna be sitting in. So I'm just gonna do another beach chair right here. And I'm gonna paint an umbrella over them, which is really fun. I'll do a very simple umbrella. We'll keep this at a level 1 here. So you can find the tip of the umbrella, the top, and then it's gonna just come out wide. And then if you wanted this little curtain, you could do the curtain. If you want to do little panels, you could do little panels. I'm keeping it really quite straightforward. And I'll do a white or gray pole coming down. If you want to do a multicolored umbrella, you could. And there's a guy here with some red shorts on, so I'm just gonna paint an invisible man over here with my red shorts while I'm thinking about it. There's a guy right there with some red shorts on. And then you can fill in your umbrella. It's a little lighter on the left. And it gets more medium toned in the middle, and then on the right side of the umbrella, it's like the red or the pink. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of a funky gradient with the umbrella. You can do this if you wish. It's kind of fun to try it. Let's do a little bit of a lighter area right here. There, that's good for right now. And then I'll mix my people kind of colors together. So you can do your flesh color any color you wish. I'm going to use some of this beachy color. It's going to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to take a little bit of the brown and make it a little darker. You make them tan. You can any color. We welcome all colors. Let's see. So I'm going to grab the smallest brush I have to do these people. As I mix and find my flesh color. I don't even think it's going to be a color of choice tonight. I think it's going to be the closest color I have to a flesh tone. Let's see, this is a tiny brush right here. Let's see what I got. I'm just using whatever I have. So I'm not using the tiniest brushes in the world because I have what I have, right? And just like you have what you have, so no big deal. So this is a person. So I'm gonna, and this color may not work or not. I'm gonna start somewhere. I think it'll be fine for right now. And then this person's gonna have long, skinny arms coming down. Maybe it's like coming in, it's gonna go out. And this person's walking away. So you can use a little bit of water. And there's gonna be a head of hair. I'm just gonna do the body first. And then there's like little legs that are coming down. People can be scary, but it's kind of fun to try it, right? And then there's a person sitting in the chair here. So I'm just gonna do like little stick figures. Just try it, right? There's just people hanging out at the beach, maybe talking to each other. I'm gonna put clothes on them after. And then this person's gonna have a head. Maybe I come and do all their hair after too. But maybe there's somebody in the water over here. Somebody in the water, like a half up, just kind of walking in the water. If you don't want to add people, you feel like it's gonna ruin it, you don't have to. There's some legs in the water. Maybe that's a child. Let me see what I have for browns here. So to make brown again is maybe someone has a head here and she has a ponytail down the back of her. There, it's a ponytail. And this guy has maybe brown hair here, sitting in the chair. You can give them hair, right? So this is just creating a little scene if you wish, right? All totally optional. And then this is a kind of another fun part is you can do more people in the distance, really, really, really tiny. And I haven't actually done this before, so we can play with this together. I'm gonna do like kind of like lots of little lines of people back here, and they're gonna be all really small. Like they're further away. And I may have to excuse myself early from class because I have a little baby that needs me. But you can kind of do little lines for people in the distance. These don't look like people right now because I will put shorts and hair on them, but you can put like a couple people in the water. Maybe some arms coming out. They're gonna get smaller in the distance as you go out. So like this might be someone here with their hair. Putting clothes on people is probably a good idea. So maybe this person has, you know, a bathing suit on like that. If you want to make the legs longer, you can. Totally up to you. You can also change colors. So like if you wanted to do blue bathing suits or whatever, you could do blues. Like there's a person there, that person's wearing blue, that person's wearing blue. You can just bring in a little bit of color here and there to show that these are the peoples. All right. So ladies, I apologize to end early, but I need to leave. I'm going to pause our video for anyone that's watching the recording. I apologize for the disruption tonight, but please follow up with me with any questions.